Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews for an Evangelical Encounters the Restoration. I'm your host, Stephen Pynakker, and I have so many things I want to talk about. Welcome to another Tuesday Tangents, by the way. My last one got over 10,000 views, so I know you all enjoyed them. And I wanted to tell you, first of all, I got the extraordinary opportunity to handle the rarest Book of Mormon in the world. Yes, one of a kind. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. I'm going to be interviewing the owner of it later this week. Very exciting find. But before I get into that, I just want to mention that last weekend I participated in the Book of Mormon Rally that was actually at a Community of Christ church in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was put on by Patrick McKay. That was a Saturday night. And then James McKay, his brother, did a Book of Mormon symposium on Friday night. I'm going to get into all of that. Very exciting. But I want to kind of give you an overview of what happened on the trip and then a preview of some amazing things that are going to be happening with the channel very soon. So first of all, I want to start the story that I arrived on June 8th, a Friday, and was picked up by this wonderful husband and wife named Steve and Ann. They picked me up, and it was their daughter, who's based in Colorado, who's a big fan of the program, that reached out to me saying, hey, if you need a ride to and from the airport, they'll be more than happy to do it. So they were so kind and generous, very nice people. So Steve and Ann, I want to give you guys a shout out for both giving me a ride. And then on that Monday, we had an awesome afternoon. Before I headed out, gave a tour of the Arabia Museum, which was really cool. Must see if you go to Kansas City, as well as just going to some bookstores. And they even bought some books for me, which was very, very nice, kind and generous people. Steve and Ann, you're awesome. So the Book of Mormon Rally and there was a Book of Mormon symposium on Friday night, and both Adam Stokes and Josh Gehleys were two of the four speakers that night. So both previous guests of the program. And then there was Scott Woodward from Scripture Central. I think it's Woodward. Yeah, it is, right? Yeah, Scott Woodward from BYU Idaho spoke. And he's with Scripture Central, and Casey Griffith and him were both there as well. And another guy named Stephen Tager, who's at BYU. And it turns out it's really good friends with another previous guest, Kyle Beshears, the Baptist minister who's been on my program, who's really interested in James Strang and that history. And Kyle does some really great work with Stephan at BYU. I would actually like to have them both come on my program to talk about that sometime. So the symposium on Friday night went really well. It was well attended. By the way, David Boice of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks arrived from Wisconsin at around 5:45. The symposium started at 6:30. So he was my Uber for most of the weekend. So David Boice, shout out to you. Thanks for coming out and Ubering me around for the weekend. I'm going to get back to David Boice as well, because that was another interesting story. And so we had this great forum on the Friday, the symposium on Friday night. And then Saturday morning, I got to participate along with David Boice of 52 Churches in a roundtable at the Stake Center in downtown Independence, right across the street from the Community of Christ Temple and right next to the LDS Visitors Center. And it was the first time, and they do this every year, this roundtable. It's presided over by the stake president. And this is the first time they've had outsiders, non-restorationists, participating in this roundtable. And these were different people from different varieties of and expressions of the restoration were there, all having in common with each other that they're believers in the Book of Mormon. And David and I got to sit in and actually participate in the conversation, which was really productive. Casey Griffiths actually was the one that facilitated the meeting, and I thought that he did a fantastic job putting it on. And we actually had some things that we accomplished in the meeting. It's very difficult to have like 12, 15 people in a room and actually are able to accomplish much. Not a whole lot gets done by committees, but I thought that this went really well. And so that was a great positive thing. Now, at both the symposium and then the roundtable, I got to meet the President Forsyth, who is the mission president at the Visitor Center, but he's the mission president that oversees actually all the historic sites in Missouri for the church. And we have something very much in common with each other. We both were blessed by the same apostle, Neil Anderson, just like I was blessed by him when Elder Anderson came here to dedicate the Stake Center here in Sarasota. He was actually personally called, not via an email, but personally called by him to serve the mission, and actually by the church historian, the new church historian president, which, by the way, I forget his name, but they both actually contacted him because he had put in to serve a mission, and he served, just so you know, President Forsyth was 32 years an institute teacher. And so he was very excited to be able to do this. And we became fast friends. And I'm going to tell you more about that because that's what leads to this remarkable find of a Book of Mormon, which I want to get more into. So a few things I just wanted to talk about too was I thought that my weekend there was very productive because in addition to then the Book of Mormon Rally, which I spoke at Saturday night, and there was about 14 people that spoke there. And Stefan actually kind of gave the keynote, and there was about a dozen of us that spoke after he gave the keynote. So it was kind of long. It was about 3 hours long. There was also musical performance that were performed. I also want to say that Patrick and James McKay are going to get me the file for the video because they did video it, and I do intend on putting the Book of Mormon Rally on my channel in the next couple of weeks. We just need to convert those files to MP4s, and then we'll be able to upload it onto my channel. And so I want to share it with my broader audience as well. So that is really kind of a cool thing as well. So that will both be the rally and the symposium. If all goes according to plan, we're going to have those posted on my channel exclusively, which is going to be, I think the audience is going to love it. I know that they are. And then on Sunday, I went and had a service. We had a service. We had Patrick McKay's house in his basement, and this is the second time I've done this. And we had a great fellowship of people from the Church of Jesus Christ, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So our friends from Scripture Central and BYU were all there. Almost everybody kind of bore a testimony and told their stories, and it was about an hour-long service. And then we had lunch at Patrick's house, and it was great. And so then afterwards, David was heading out. So I just said, hey, can you just drop me off at the visitor's center? I don't have any plans. I did make plans to go to the Stone Church at 6 p.m. that night to hear a gentleman speak about Book of Mormon geography. That was kind of interesting, to say the least. But I had about 4 hours of time to kill. So he drops me off at the visitor's center, and I walk in, and there's President Forsyth just happened to be walking by. So we greet each other with a hug, and we start talking for quite some time. And then he gives me a personal tour of the facility. And then we were about ready to head out to go down to visit somebody down the street who was putting something on that Sunday afternoon. And up comes Boyd Packer's son. Now, I don't remember his first name, and I should have got that, but he just was released as a 70 along with his wife. And President Forsyth goes to me and says, I don't think it's a coincidence that he's coming right as we're leaving. So I went and sat with President Forsyth and his wife. She gave the tour of us, and there was about 3 or 4 other people in the group, and we went and did the whole actual tour of the visitor center as well. And then we went, and that was great. So I got to meet him and gave him my card, got a picture taken with him, and that was really cool. Boyd K. Packer's son. That's pretty wild. And then President Forsyth and I, we went and visited somebody at the American Heritage Center. Adam has that, and we visited with him for about an hour. And then we went our separate ways because they were doing something at the visitor center with LDS youth, BYU students that were traveling. And I was going to the Stone Church. So I sat in on the Book of Mormon. It's a Mesoamerican model presentation, and it was pretty interesting. I won't give too many details, but it was at the Stone Church. And I did meet somebody there who I will be interviewing for the program as well, who talks about how their stories of the Messiah in the Mayan culture. Obviously, the idea that Jesus did visit that culture, which is part of what the Book of Mormon also says as well. So I'm going to have him on, and he's going to be sending me a copy of the book. But what happened was when Boyd K. Packer's son was also there with a guy named Keith. And Keith has lived in Missouri for 40-something years. He's a school teacher, and he is actually served his mission there and ended up moving there. So he loves Missouri, and he told us about this rare Book of Mormon. And Forsyth actually had mentioned it to me the day before. And I'm not going to give the name of it. I'm just going to do a teaser here because I'm going to be interviewing later this week. But we drove a half hour away to Excelsior Springs, I believe is what it's called. And I got to see a one-of-a-kind Book of Mormon that even Robert of Book of Mormon Editions has never, ever seen or heard about until a week before I actually saw it. So I got a picture of me holding it, and I sent Robert a picture saying, hey, beat you to it. But Robert and I are going to be interviewing this guy. This is an extraordinary story of a Book of Mormon edition that nobody knew about. It's so rare. There's only one known copy of it, and we don't know if there's any other copies available. We hope that maybe somebody in the attic has some, but I'll get you some more details when we interview when we interview him later this week. So that is really kind of a crazy weekend. And I want to get back to the Book of Mormon Rally because I didn't really talk about it. There were about a dozen of us spoke, and David Boice was one of the speakers at that. And it was well received, had a lot of people. A gentleman greeted me at the door. Said, I've been waiting for you to get here. I want to get a picture with you. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's pretty wild, but that happens pretty frequently now to have quote unquote fans, which is crazy. And so I'm still getting used to that, as you might imagine. And I just want to go through my list to make sure I'm covering everything here. I think I got, okay. So I did want to also talk about this Memorial Day weekend. And also, by the way, I'm going to be doing a book drawing shortly. This Memorial Day weekend was pretty cool. I hope you all had a good one as well. But this Saturday night, I actually had dinner with some LDS Smoke. The people that reached out to me to attend the grand opening of the Stake Center, the dedication, as well as the open house. Her name was Allison, but it was her brother, David, that reached out to her saying, because I did that video that I did in front of the Stake Center saying, hey, I want to interview the bishop and all this kind of stuff. He reaches out to me and says, hey, where's this at? And I said, well, this is near Sarasota. And he said, okay, let me get back to you. And later on, his sister reaches out to me, and that's who I sat with. Alan is her husband. She's actually the stake choir director. And so I sat with him at the Stake Center. And then I reached out to David. He actually reached out to me, and I'm like, hey, next time you're in town, why don't you reach out to me? Well, it turns out 2 weeks later, they were in town, and we made arrangements. So we went to this great Mexican restaurant, and they treated us. And my mom was there. So we had this great, I'm going to post on my Facebook page the picture for those of you who are friends with me on Facebook today. And there we got to hang out with them. So David and then his wife, Erin, who we had a wonderful conversation with. I spent a lot of time talking with them and getting to know them. And they've been watching my channel for almost a year, and over a year now. They first discovered the channel when I did the interviews of the Who Killed Joseph Smith director, as well as with Kimberly Watson Smith, who gave the response to it a couple of days later. So they've been actually with the channel when I had only a few hundred subscribers. So they really enjoyed it. So I gave them some inside info on things, on how things were, and just really honestly, just a fantastic time spent. And this is how it works, folks. If evangelicals and LDS folk want to engage each other, we want to do it in a way in which we can sit down and have civil conversations and break bread with each other. I think that's like so important. It makes and when you do it that way, in a non-hostile way, and you know what, their eyes are wide open. They're aware of all the issues, and they're faithful TBMs, as they like to call, as they're called, at least on forums, True Blue Mormons or True Believing Mormons. And they're wonderful, wonderful people. And I was just really honored, and my mom and I really enjoyed our company with them. So here, I just want to tell you, we're going to do the book drawing now. Now, I'm also going to preview next month's book drawing too. So this is for the month of April. This is edited by Devan Jensen, Battlefields, Temple Grounds, Latter-day Saints in Guam and Micronesia. And stay tuned, I might have a few more things to say after this as well. And got it in one of my trusty MBR hats. And I'm just going to pull out a name. And the winner is Jennifer Eckelberger of Springville, Utah. So Jennifer, congratulations. You won the Battlefields to Temple Grounds book. And that is so awesome. So, and I got a lot of responses for that. It's a lot of entries. So you get lucked out. So congratulations. I also want to remind you that this month's book, this is May 31st is the deadline to get Unexpected, the backstory of finding Elizabeth Smart and growing up in a culture of an American religion, forward by Elizabeth Smart. Of course, Chris has been on my program, and he gave me 2 copies. So make sure you get these in by midnight, May 31st Eastern time, and for the May drawing. And then I want to preview the June drawing, which is Witnessing Miracles, Historical Evidence for the Resurrection in the Book of Mormon by Josh Gehleys. And he gave me an extra paperback to give away. So that is going to be June. And this is really fascinating. Of course, we did my interview with him. And it's really a great thing because he used basic, typical Christian apologetics that prove the resurrection of Jesus. You can use the very same exact same arguments and make a stronger case, actually, for the existence of the plates. And so I thought that was a fantastic book that Jeff wrote. And so I thank you, Jeff, for sending me a copy of that to give away to everybody. And let me see if there's anything else I want to cover. Oh, yeah. So June 8th through the 11th is the Mormon History Association. Of course, I just had Chris come on from there to talk last week about that. And that is going to be in Rochester, New York, and you can still register for that. I'll be there. I won't be presenting, but I will be presenting this September at the John Whitmer Historical Association, and that's really exciting. And I'll give you some information on that as details emerge. But that should be also a very interesting thing too. Also, I just want to get feedback from all of you. What do you think of the channel, where it's going? I'm very excited about the growth that we've had. So we're closing in on 5,000 subscribers. We'll probably reach sometime in June, and we're going to probably cross over 500,000 views in the next couple of weeks. We just had a record-setting month of May. May is the best, and even though it's not done yet, the best month we've had so far. April was record-setting, and then May broke that record. So we just keep on getting a ton of views every day, the dozens of new subscribers every day. The channel just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I want to thank all of those of you out there that have been supporting this endeavor from early on. I think it's really exciting to hear from people who say, I subscribed to your channel when you had, 50 subscribers or 100 subscribers, or, I was watching you from the beginning. And it's you guys are probably having the most fun that you discovered me when I was just this tiny little channel. And now it continues to grow. And it is one of the fastest growing Mormon podcasts in the world. And I'm not even a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or any restoration movement. I'm just this outsider. But as Dr. Randy Bell says, it is the Switzerland of Mormonism. Okay. I just want to remind all of you is don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification button for when a new episode comes out. I also want to thank all of those who are financially contributing to the channel. In the description, I'll have links for those of you who like to support us on Patreon as well as PayPal. And I could use some extra money if people want to just give like a one-time donation on PayPal. You got 50, 100, couple $100 or whatever to donate to me to help cover some of my expenses while I'm out there. That'd be great. It is expensive to travel, and I try to be very frugal with my budget, and it's always helpful when people chip in. So I want to thank those of you who have contributed, and I want to thank those for those of you who have a little extra money and you'd like to help us out. That would be really, really awesome. I always appreciate it when people do a solid for me in the channel. And let's see, I might be going to Sunstone this July. I might be going to Sunstone, UK and speak there in October. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's the latest Tuesday Tangent, folks. I just remind you that thank you again for everything. And I just remind you all, the most important thing is this. Remember, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.